Keep the kiddos safe this summer while they are having fun. Dr. Watson is here just ahead. And remembering Senator Thad Cochran. Plus, an Alabama native pins his memories of D-Day in a new book. Mid-Morning starts right now.
WCBI's Mid-Morning with Aundrea, breaking away from your everyday.
Good morning, everyone. Summer break has begun for the kids, yay, and that means more time outside for them, at the pool, outdoors, exploring, but all that fun can come with some risks. Pediatrician Dr. Keith Watson is here this morning to talk about summer safety. Dr. Watson, good to have you back.
Good morning.
Let me just start off by right off the bat saying it's great that they're outside, they're playing, they're enjoying the summer sun, and they're not in the house doing this all day.
It's wonderful.
So that's the first thing.
Yes. It
but
is.
We want to keep safety first.
Outside, get busy.
Do we do emergency rooms, because you deal with the hospital obviously in West Point? Does your office see a lot of visits during the summer from sort of injuries and
yes. In the summertime, pediatrics is a very seasonal field. The colds, the snotty noses, yeah, you have the few, but the office visit during the summer are the bike wrecks, the skateboard wrecks, the sunburns, all of this fun stuff.
All
yes.
right. And a lot of that is because some of those activities can be a little bit unattended. You know, there's no parental supervision a lot of the times, but because kids are out there playing. Well, let's just sort of go through some safety tips for all of these scenarios, starting with first water safety, because the pool, I think, is the biggest draw this time of year.
It is, and it was my favorite as a kid. I lived where I grew up. We had a massive lake. I lived at the lake. Sunscreen, obviously we'll probably talk about that one, but when you're out in the water, that sun reflects off that water. You burn quicker, you burn faster, plus sunscreen washes off in water after a little bit. Don't swim alone. I know that sounds so nitpicky, but
even if you consider yourself a really good swimmer,
you need to swim with somebody, because you just simply don't know what can happen at any moment in time. And if someone's with you, you've got help if you need it. And
at what age do you suggest that parents get swimming lessons for their children?
As early as they possibly can. Young children can learn to swim, and even younger children can be taught, if you fall in water, how to float so that drowning is minimized. But if you've got swimming pools at home, they need fences. The gates that lead past that fence need to be locked, or at least have some kind of opening on it a child can't open.
And make sure all those toys are out of the pool when pool time is over.
Because they think they want the toy and they'll go get it. And if you're going to be out on the lake, life jackets, because you don't know what happened. A boat can tip over, you can hit something, you can be knocked into the water and be knocked unconscious. And life preservers are paramount to safety when you're in the water, especially out on open water.
All right, very good advice. Let's move now to sun safety, because you've already brought it up. Sunscreen, you got to have it on. You
have to. The heat, especially here in Mississippi with the humidity, you burn quickly. It is so, going outside in Mississippi is like being in an oven.
Like in minutes, really. Within
minutes. And you've got to have sunscreen. And young children, infants, really just don't even need to be out in it at all. But if children and even adults, if you're going to be out, you need sunscreen.
Let's clear up this sort of misnomer too. Brown folks, we need sunscreen.
Dark-skinned people burn just as quickly as lighter-skinned people and suffer the same risks for skin cancer that everybody else does. In fact, they may be more at risk because they don't notice they're burning. Because you can't see it.
Right.
Sunscreen, and it needs to be applied regularly throughout the day. And if you're out, you need to get out of the direct sunlight about every 30 minutes. If you're swimming at the lake, swim for a few minutes, but then get back in the boat or get to the shore and get under an umbrella or some cover and let your skin cool off, because in addition to the sunburn, you're going to have heat exhaustion.
Which is where I was going next. Real quickly, let's talk about heat, water, all of those things. Just staying hydrated is going to be important.
You're going to dehydrate very quickly, again, in Mississippi with the humidity. You're going to dehydrate quickly. People can suffer heat exhaustion within a matter of minutes, and that can cause headaches, confusion, vomiting. And again, if you're confused and dizzy and you're on water, it's easy to fall into water.
Absolutely.
So everything's compounded there. You've got to be able to find a way to get out of the heat about every 30 to 45 minutes and at least cool off.
All right, and we've run out of time. I wanted to hit bug bites and mosquitoes, but let's save it for the next time.
Sounds good.
How about that? Good to see you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. State legislatures are seeing more and more women lead. We'll have that story coming up next on Mid-Morning. Welcome back. 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment passed, giving white women the right to vote. Officially ratified in 1920, it prohibited discrimination on the basis of sex. A record number of women are taking part in national politics this year, and for the first time in our nation's history, one state has a majority of female legislators. Women make up 51% of Nevada's General Assembly, far exceeding the roughly 15% in Mississippi and West Virginia. Jamie Yucas spoke to some who are pushing for change.
In the halls of Nevada's state capitol, it's hard not to notice there's a wave of women.
There are young women who look at the wall of our country's presidents and think, well, no one looks like me. And they can look to Nevada and say, wow, so many of them look like me.
Senator Ivana Cancela says the new majority has propelled female-focused legislation. She's behind a bill passed earlier this month protecting a woman's access to abortion and removes the requirement of asking whether she's married or not.
Women all over the country said, I'm tired of taking the back seat to having other people make decisions about my body, about my children, about my life, about my workplace. I want to be in that decision-making seat.
Pat Spearman, one of the longest-serving state senators, first took office in 2013. She says many of the bills passing are topics that naturally arise when women are at the table.
The women who are here this time, doesn't matter which party, when we're passionate about something, we just push for it.
Bills introduced this session tackled issues like sex trafficking, sexual misconduct, equal pay, and child marriage. Republican Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy and her Democratic colleague Selena Torres have worked across the aisle to better education.
I think it has been the most incredible experience of my life.
I know we have over 90% bipartisanship on the bills that we've passed so far.
You're agreeing on something?
Yeah, more often than people think.
Torres is a 23-year-old teacher. Hardy is a mom and business owner. But where they can build bonds, they do, especially outside Capitol walls.
The things that we share are a lot more than the things that, differences that we have. And so you go out, you have fun, you have dinner, you sing.
Some people are phenomenal singers.
Karaoke?
Phenomenal singer.
Yes,
we can all agree that she sings well.
So I did have a band in my younger years.
I have a stage name now and everything.
What's your stage name?
They call me Marty.
The gatherings, in committee and outside of it, keep getting bigger. With 51% of the majority, these women say their only objective is to serve every Nevadan.
The idea of having a female majority has left a sense of pride that I can't even explain to you.
You're a fighter.
I am. I don't know anything else to do but fight. And I hope when I leave here, one of the things that they will say about me is that she fought and never gave up.
For CBS This Morning, Jamie Yucas, Carson City, Nevada.
In Mississippi this week, the life and legacy of the late Senator Thad Cochran were honored at the state capitol. It was standing room only in the rotunda for the funeral service. As Courtney Ann Jackson describes, Senator Cochran's service cannot be discussed without reference to his character.
Senator Thad Cochran was received by the Honor Guard at the State House, a state he loved and one that loved him back for decades.
He would not want us to call him great, but if he will forgive us for a moment, we will do all those things and more.
Cochran's 45 years of service were honored.
In those times when Mississippi was perhaps at its worst, when challenges were the strongest, there was always Thad Cochran.
Even more so, the way in which he served.
He knew what his purpose was every day. It wasn't glory. It wasn't power. It was simply to work for Mississippi families. And he would and he did move mountains for those families.
Many in this crowd worked for the senator during his storied time in office.
He taught everyone most especially his staff, to treat everybody with respect. He taught us to listen to people, even if we might not agree. He always was kind to everyone he came in contact with.
A kindness that drew people in to the man known as the Quiet Persuader.
You have that much respect, people understand that he is a leader and they wanted to follow him and they wanted to help him be successful.
For those of us who knew him personally, we just always know that he was just a good man, good heart, and loved the people and was able to get things done. And so we honor him.
The family knew him behind the titles, but still are overwhelmed by the public response. A receiving line stretched around the rotunda as the service ended and continued well past noon.
It has been phenomenal. I have heard more stories about he and his constituents and his friends and his staff. It's just been so positive, and he truly is going to be missed by most Mississippians.
We should remember forever of his life, the honor, the dignity, the humility. That will be the legacy of this great man.
Coming up, memories from the beaches of Normandy. Mid-morning, we'll be right back. Welcome back. This week marks the 75th anniversary of D-Day. As a 23-year-old Army medic, Alabama native Ray Lambert saved countless lives in Normandy despite being injured himself. D-Day was a pivotal turning point in the Second World War, ultimately leading to the defeat of Nazi forces in Europe. More than 150,000 American, British, and Canadian troops landed on the shores of Normandy, France on D-Day. Lambert, now 98 years old, recently wrote a book called Every Man a Hero. Jan Crawford has his story.
It was very crowded, the cold. Guys were seasick.
Ray Lambert was in the front of a cramped Higgins boat as it approached the shores of Normandy on June 6, 1944.
The weather was terrible.
Just a miserable day.
He was 23 years old, a hardscrabble country boy from Alabama turned Army medic. He and his brother Bill enlisted in the war, and both were heading to Omaha. They talked just before the landing crafts launched.
We were both married, and we agreed that if anything happened to either one of us, that the other one would take care of our wife. And I had a son that I'd never seen.
The greatest sea-land duel in history.
The horror of that day began well before Lambert's boat reached the shore. He could hear the bullets.
As we got in close enough, we could see dead guys on the beach.
It is an infantryman's nightmare.
Lambert took a bullet through the elbow just as the landing craft's ramp opened to deposit the men. He didn't stop.
There was a guy just to my right that was obviously drowning. He had all his equipment on. That was the first person that I helped.
Lambert saved at least 15 men on D-Day, pulling many of them to shore and seeking shelter behind a large rock.
How did you keep going?
You really didn't have a choice there. You either drown or you move forward.
He kept going after shrapnel later tore through his thigh, and then while working to save another soldier, the two suddenly were pinned under the ramp of a boat bringing in more Americans.
You had that conscious thought?
Yes.
This was it?
That's when I asked God to give me one more chance to save this guy's life.
You didn't pray for your life?
Well, I was thinking of the guy I had.
Miraculously, the ramp suddenly lifted. Lambert saved his man, but his own back was broken, and he dragged himself ashore, looking down the beach before losing consciousness.
Look at the water. It has a way of soothing your pain.
Lambert, now 98, says even at the time, the soldiers understood the Normandy invasion was pivotal to winning the war.
We knew that this was either do or die situation.
Lambert and his brother made it out alive.
You didn't bring back a lot with you. Memories.
The front room in Lambert's North Carolina home is where he keeps pictures and awards. Most of what he had during the war was lost in battle. But he doesn't need objects to remember.
There is hardly a day goes by that I haven't thought of some soldier or some incident that happened.
You've had a wonderful life, and you got back and you got to meet your son, and you had more children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But do you ever think your men, the ones that didn't make it, they wanted to have a great life too?
Those guys that are buried out there in front of us, the guys that gave so much, young guys, never had homes, never had families, never get to play ball with their children or their son. And so that was one of the, now you make me cry.
Lambert has gone back to Omaha several times since that day 75 years ago, and the rock where his men took shelter has been named Ray's Rock. He's been reluctant to share his story until now.
I felt, you know, that someone would say, gee, Ray thinks he was a great hero or something like that. I'm not. You know, I'm a veteran.
He decided to speak for his fellow soldiers who no longer can. The title of Lambert's book says it all, aptly named Every Man a Hero.
When we were talking about a name for the book, and the name came up, Ray Lambert, the hero. And so I said, no, every man is a hero, not me.
Now Lambert came home to his wife, met his 3-year-old son. He built a successful business. He's got a loving extended family. But he said not a day of his life has gone by that he doesn't think of June 6, 1944. Jan Crawford, CBS News, Washington.
Coming up, celebrating a chef who brought people together with her Creole cooking. Mid-Morning will return in a moment. Welcome back. The New York Times writes, New Orleans chef Leah Chase fed presidents and freedom riders. The Creole chef died over the weekend. The city of New Orleans and the culinary world are remembering her. Her career spanned more than 7 decades. She created a safe haven for civil rights activists, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. CBS This Morning's Saturday co-host Michelle Miller met Chase more than 25 years ago, and along the way, they became friends.
Leah Chase was called the Queen of Creole Cuisine, and her palace was Dookie Chase's.
If I wouldn't come in this kitchen every day, I think I would be miserable.
Born in 1923, Chase started out as a waitress in the French Quarter before marrying Edgar Dookie Chase Jr., a musician whose parents ran a small sandwich shop. Mrs. Chase took over and transformed it into a fine dining restaurant for African Americans in the 1950s.
What did this place mean?
This was like a safe haven for all of us.
During the civil rights era, Chase broke segregation laws by providing a space for both black and white activists to meet. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina destroyed Dookie Chase, but Chase reopened it 2 years later.
People said, well, what are you going to do at your age? There was only one thing for me to do. No matter what you do on this earth, you have to do it well.
I went to Dookie Chase to get something to eat.
Ray Charles sang about her. And she even served as the inspiration behind Disney's first African-American princess.
I cannot believe I'm doing this.
Her customers included Martin Luther King Jr. and 2 U.S. presidents, George W. Bush and Barack Obama, whom Chase had to chastise.
I gave him the gumbo. First thing he does, takes the hot sauce. You don't put hot stuff in my gumbo. You don't do that.
In 2016, Chase received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the James Beard Foundation.
Oh my goodness, isn't this wonderful?
For creating food that changed the course of history for good.
In this restaurant, in some ways, we really changed the course of America. And I say we changed the course of America over a bowl of gumbo.
Well, that magnificent run on Jeopardy has ended. James Holzhauser's streak stopped just short of breaking a major record. Tom Hansen has more on it and how he reacted.
James Holzhauer reinvented the way people played Jeopardy, blowing out his competitors and racking up more than $2 million in winnings.
James. What is Adelaide? You got it. Capital 12?
But that all came to a screeching halt on Monday's show when the professional Las Vegas sports bettor's 32-game winning streak ended, just about $58,000 shy of Ken Jennings' record in 2004.
We're going to say goodbye to James, too. We'll be seeing him again, folks. Take care. So long.
The Jeopardy phenom was beat out by University of Chicago librarian Emma Boettcher, who correctly answered a question about authors. Ironically, Holzhauer credits the library with his vast wealth of trivial knowledge.
I think my number one feeling was that if I had to go out, I really wanted to go out against a top player who beat me in a straight-up contest, not because I made a silly mistake here or there, and that was really great.
During his extraordinary run, Holzhauer averaged $77,000 in winnings per game, shattering all kinds of Jeopardy records, including the most money won in a single episode 15 times, and playing 11 perfect games with no wrong answers.
You know, I'm no less proud of myself than I would have been if I had made it there. I know that Ken's achievements are just incredible, and they would have been no less incredible, frankly, if I'd won a couple extra games.
Holzhauer says if he gets asked to return to the Game of Champions, he would likely say yes. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
And Holzhauer helped raise Jeopardy's ratings to a 14-year high. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Stay with us. All right, be sure you stay connected with us. You can do that through social media or email. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We'll see you back here next time.